The dust kicked up by Samuel Morrison's weathered boots settled slowly in the still air of the dusty trading post, each particle catching the amber light that filtered through grimy windows. He'd ridden 30 miles from his ranch at Thunder Ridge, drawn by whispers carried on the desert wind about a woman desperate enough to sell her own daughter. The very thought sat heavy in his chest like a stone, but loneliness had a way of making even the most moral man consider desperate measures. Samuel had been alone for 7 years now, ever since consumption took his beloved Mary and their unborn child in the same cruel week. The ranch had prospered under his careful stewardship, but success meant nothing when shared with ghosts and memories. At 42, he'd resigned himself to a life of solitude, tending cattle and counting stars from his empty porch each night. The trading post reeked of unwashed bodies and stale tobacco. In the corner, a woman with hollow cheeks and desperate eyes clutched a bottle of whiskey like salvation itself. Beside her sat a girl who couldn't have been more than 19, her belly round with child, her hands folded protectively over the life growing within. The girl's auburn hair caught what little light managed to penetrate the gloom, and when she looked up at Samuel's approach, her green eyes held a dignity that poverty couldn't diminish. "You the rancher looking for a wife?" The older woman slurred, sizing up Samuel's clean clothes and steady posture. "This here's my daughter Lily. She's carrying, but the father ain't coming back. I need $50 to get west. And she needs a roof over her head." Samuel felt his stomach turn at the transaction's crude simplicity, but something in Lily's expression stopped him from walking away. She wasn't looking at him with hope or desperation, but with a quiet resignation that spoke of too many disappointments. When their eyes met, he saw intelligence there, and strength that hadn't been broken despite her circumstances. "What's your name, miss?" Samuel asked gently, removing his hat in a gesture of respect that seemed foreign in this place. "Lily Mae Thompson," she replied, her voice soft but clear. "I appreciate your interest, Mr. Morrison, but I won't pretend this is anything but what it is. My mother's debts have caught up with us, and I have nowhere else to turn." The honesty in her words cut through Samuel's defenses. Here was no scheming woman looking to trap a lonely rancher, but a young mother, to be facing an impossible situation with remarkable grace. He found himself studying her face, noting the way she held her chin high despite everything, the protective way she cradled her unborn child. "When is your baby due?" he asked. 3 months, maybe less," Lily replied. "I understand if that changes your mind. Most men wouldn't want to raise another man's child." Samuel was quiet for a long moment, weighing the magnitude of what he was considering. Taking on a pregnant woman was complicated enough, but he found himself thinking about the empty rooms in his house, the silence that greeted him each morning. Perhaps it was a chance at redemption, a way to ease the ache that had lived in his chest since Mary's death. $50, he said finally, reaching into his vest pocket. The coins felt heavy in his palm as he counted them out to Lily's mother, who snatched them greedily. "She's all yours then," the woman said, already turning toward the door. "Don't expect me to visit." Lily watched her mother disappear into the afternoon sun without so much as a goodbye, her jaw tightening but her tears staying locked away. Samuel admired her strength even as his heart ached for the pain she must be feeling. "Mom," he said quietly, offering his arm. "Would you do me the honor of accompanying me home to Thunder Ridge Ranch?" The ride back to his spread took the better part of the day, made longer by frequent stops to ensure Lily's comfort. She rode beside him on his gentlest mare, her back straight despite her condition. They spoke little at first, both overwhelmed by the strangeness of their arrangement, but gradually conversation began to flow. Lily had been educated in a convent school before her father's death left the family destitute. She spoke of books with genuine passion, of poetry and philosophy in ways that reminded Samuel how long it had been since he'd had an intellectual conversation. As the sun began to set, painting the landscape in shades of gold and crimson, she shared her fears about motherhood, about raising a child in a world that had shown her little kindness. "I want this baby to know love," she said as they crested the final hill before his ranch came into view. "Whatever mistakes I've made, whatever led me to this moment, I want my child to grow up feeling wanted and cherished." Thunder Ridge Ranch spread out before them like a promise of better days. The main house was substantial but not ostentatious, built to withstand the harsh winters and blazing summers of the frontier. Outbuildings dotted the property, and in the distance, cattle grazed peacefully in fenced pastures. It was the kind of place where a family could thrive, where children could run free and safe. It's beautiful, Lily whispered, and Samuel felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the setting sun. That first evening, they sat on the porch as stars emerged one by one in the vast sky. Samuel told her about Mary, about the dreams they'd shared for their life together, about the emptiness that had consumed him after her death. Lily listened without judgment, occasionally placing a hand on her belly when the baby moved. Mary would have liked you, Samuel said finally. She always said a house wasn't complete without the sound of children's laughter. Over the following weeks, they settled into a routine that felt surprisingly natural. Samuel went about his daily work managing the ranch, while Lily transformed the house into something resembling a home again. She cooked meals that filled the kitchen with warmth and wonderful aromas, mended clothes with skilled fingers, and slowly began to trust that this arrangement might actually work. The local doctor, a gruff but kind man named Henderson, examined Lily and declared both mother and baby healthy. The townspeople were initially suspicious of the newcomer, but Lily's gentle manner and obvious education won them over gradually. She helped the pastor's wife with the church's charity work and assisted the schoolteacher with reading lessons for the younger children. As her pregnancy progressed, Samuel found himself looking forward to each evening spent talking with her on the porch. She challenged his thinking on everything from cattle breeding to territorial politics, and her insights often proved remarkably astute. More than that, her presence had banished the oppressive loneliness that had defined his existence for so long. One evening in late autumn, as the first frost painted the windows silver, Lily went into labor. Samuel rode hard through the night to fetch Doc Henderson, his heart pounding with memories of Mary's difficult birth and tragic end. He paced the porch like a caged animal while the doctor worked, his mind gripped by fear and hope in equal measure. The baby's first cry pierced the night air like a bell, and Samuel felt his knees go weak with relief. When Doc Henderson emerged, his weathered face wore a broad smile. "You've got yourself a healthy baby girl, Sam," he announced. "Mother's doing fine too. Strong as an ox. That one." Samuel entered the bedroom on unsteady legs, not sure what to expect. Lily lay propped against pillows, exhausted but radiant, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in one of Mary's old quilts. The baby had a shock of dark hair and perfectly formed features that took Samuel's breath away. "Would you like to hold her?" Lily asked softly. With trembling hands, Samuel took the infant, marveling at her tiny fingers and the way she seemed to study his face with dark, intelligent eyes. In that moment, something shifted in his heart. This wasn't just Lily's child anymore, she was theirs. "What will you name her?" he asked. "I was thinking Hope," Lily replied. "Hope Morrison if you'll have her." Samuel's eyes filled with tears he'd been holding back for months. "Hope Morrison," he repeated. "It's perfect." Winter arrived early that year, blanketing Thunder Ridge in snow that muffled sound and created a cocoon of intimacy around the small family. Samuel had never known such contentment as he found watching Lily tend to baby Hope, singing lullabies in a voice like honey and silk. He often caught himself standing in doorways, reluctant to interrupt the peaceful domestic scenes that had replaced his lonely evenings. As the days grew shorter, their conversations by the fire grew longer and more intimate. They spoke of their childhoods, their dreams for the future, their fears about the world Hope would inherit. Samuel found himself falling in love not just with the idea of family, but with Lily herself, her quick wit, her fierce protectiveness of her daughter, her ability to find beauty in simple things. It was on a particularly cold February night, with wind howling around the eaves and snow piling against the windows, that everything changed. Hope had been fussy all evening, and both Samuel and Lily were exhausted from trying to soothe her. Finally, as the baby settled into sleep, they collapsed onto the sofa by the fire, sitting closer than usual in their wariness. "Samuel," Lily said quietly, her head resting against his shoulder, "I need to tell you something about Hope's father." Samuel tensed slightly, not sure he wanted to hear this story, but knowing it was time. "His name was Thomas Garrett," she continued. "He was the son of a wealthy rancher from back east, visiting our town on business. He was charming and handsome, and I was foolish enough to believe his promises about taking me away from poverty." She paused, and Samuel could feel her trembling slightly. "When I told him about the baby, he offered me money to take care of the problem. When I refused, he disappeared back east without another word. My mother's gambling debts were mounting, and Thomas's rejection broke something in me. I felt so ashamed, so used." Samuel's arm tightened around her protectively. You have nothing to be ashamed of, Lily. Nothing. I never expected to find happiness again, she whispered. But these months with you, watching you with hope, I've started to believe that maybe I deserve something good after all. You deserve everything good, Samuel replied, his voice rough with emotion. You and Hope both. When she looked up at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears, Samuel knew his life was about to change forever. The kiss they shared was tender and tentative at first, but it carried within it all the longing and hope they'd been building together through the long winter nights. I love you, Lily Morrison, he whispered against her forehead. I love you and Hope more than I ever thought possible. And I love you, she replied. You saved us, Samuel. You gave us a life worth living. Spring came early that year, bringing with it a sense of renewal that seemed to touch everything at Thunder Ridge Ranch. Samuel officially adopted Hope, giving her his name and all the legal protections that came with it. He and Lily were married in the small church in town, with Hope sleeping peacefully in her mother's arms as they exchanged vows. The wedding was simple but joyful, attended by neighbors who had come to respect and care for the small family. Doc Henderson stood as Samuel's best man, while the pastor's wife served as Lily's matron of honor. As they spoke their vows, Samuel marveled at how different this wedding felt from his first. Where his marriage to Mary had been built on youthful passion and dreams, this union was founded on deeper things: respect, understanding, and a love that had grown gradually from friendship into something unshakable. Summer brought its own challenges and rewards. Samuel taught Lily to ride properly, and she proved a natural horsewoman with an intuitive understanding of cattle behavior. Together, they made improvements to the ranch that increased both its efficiency and its beauty. Lily established a vegetable garden that became the envy of the county, while Samuel built a swing on the front porch where Lily could sit with Hope in the evenings. The baby thrived in the clean air and wide spaces of the ranch. She was an easy child, quick to smile and fascinated by everything around her. Samuel delighted in carrying her around the property, showing her the horses and cattle, talking to her as if she understood every word. Watching him with Hope, Lily often felt her heart swell with gratitude for the man who had chosen to love them both so completely. One evening in late summer, as they sat watching Hope crawl across the porch while the sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Lily made an announcement that sent Samuel's heart soaring. I'm expecting again, she said quietly, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. Doc Henderson confirmed it yesterday. Samuel gathered her in his arms, spinning her around as she laughed, careful not to squeeze too tightly. When he set her down, his eyes were bright with tears of joy. When? He asked. Spring, she replied, right around Hope's first birthday. As autumn painted the landscape in brilliant reds and golds, the Morrison family prepared for their second winter together. This time, there was no uncertainty, no awkwardness, just the comfortable rhythms of a family secure in their love for one another. Samuel found himself thinking often of Mary during this time, not with the crushing grief that had once consumed him, but with gratitude for the love they'd shared and peace about the love he'd found again. He sometimes wondered if Mary had somehow guided Lily to him, if his first wife's spirit had played a role in bringing Hope back into his life. The thought brought him comfort rather than guilt, as if Mary herself had blessed this second chance at happiness. The snow came early again that winter, but this time it felt like a cozy blanket rather than a prison. Samuel had winterized the house more thoroughly, and Lily had prepared preserves and dried goods that would see them through the coldest months. Hope, now walking and babbling constantly, brought endless entertainment to their snowbound days. On Christmas Eve, as they sat by the fire with Hope playing at their feet and Lily's pregnancy beginning to show, Samuel reflected on the miracle that had transformed his life. A year ago, he'd been a bitter, lonely man counting down his remaining years in solitude. Now he was a husband and father, with another child on the way and a future bright with possibility. What are you thinking about? Lily asked, noticing his contemplative mood. Miracles, Samuel replied. How life sometimes answers prayers we didn't even know we were praying. Lily smiled and took his hand, placing it on her growing belly. I used to think my life was over when Thomas abandoned us, she said. I thought Hope and I were destined for nothing but hardship and shame. I never imagined we'd find a love like this. Sometimes the best things come from the worst circumstances, Samuel said. Maybe we had to go through what we did to appreciate what we have now. As if summoned by their conversation, Hope toddled over and climbed into Samuel's lap, her small hands patting his chest as she babbled her baby language. Looking down at her bright eyes and infectious smile, Samuel felt the last vestiges of his old grief finally release their hold on his heart. The second baby arrived on a beautiful April morning, just as the wildflowers were beginning to bloom across the meadows surrounding Thunder Ridge Ranch. This time, Samuel was calmer during the labor, though no less concerned for Lily's welfare. When Doc Henderson announced the arrival of a healthy baby boy, Samuel felt as if his heart might burst with pride and joy. "Another perfect child," the doctor proclaimed, handing the squalling infant to his father. "You Morrisons certainly know how to make beautiful babies." The boy had Lily's green eyes and Samuel's stubborn chin, and from his first day, he displayed a temperament that was both gentle and determined. They named him James Samuel Morrison, after Samuel's father and his own middle name. Hope, now a toddler with boundless energy and curiosity, adapted to her role as big sister with enthusiasm that sometimes overwhelmed her parents. She insisted on helping with everything related to baby James, from bringing diapers to singing him the lullabies she'd learned from her mother. As summer returned to Thunder Ridge Ranch, Samuel often found himself standing on his porch at sunset, watching his wife tend their garden while their children played in the yard. The sight never failed to move him, Lily's auburn hair catching the golden light, Hope's laughter ringing across the meadows, baby James sleeping peacefully in his cradle on the porch. It was during one of these peaceful evenings that a rider approached the ranch house, kicking up dust as he urged his horse toward the porch. Samuel recognized the man as Jake Peters, who worked at the telegraph office in town, and his urgent manner suggested important news. "Mr. Morrison," Jake called out, dismounting quickly. "Got a telegram for you. Came in this morning from back east." Samuel's heart clenched as he accepted the yellow paper, memories of the telegram that had informed him of his father's death flooding back. But as he read the message, his expression changed from worry to amazement. "What is it?" Lily asked, noting his stunned expression. "It's from a lawyer in Philadelphia," Samuel said slowly. "Apparently Hope's father, Thomas Garrett, he died in a riding accident last month." Lily went very still, her hands gripping her garden tools more tightly. "There's more," Samuel continued. "He never married, never had any other children. In his will, he left everything to Hope, his entire inheritance. Lily, our daughter, is going to be very wealthy." The news should have been cause for celebration, but both Samuel and Lily found themselves struggling with complex emotions. The money would secure their children's futures in ways they'd never imagined possible, but it also brought back memories of Thomas's abandonment and the pain it had caused. That night, after the children were asleep, they talked long into the night about what Thomas's bequest might mean for their family. "I don't want his money," Lily said finally. "It feels wrong somehow, like he's trying to buy forgiveness from beyond the grave." "But think about what it could mean for Hope," Samuel countered gently. "For James, too. They could have educations we could never afford, opportunities beyond anything this ranch could provide." "Would you want them to leave Thunder Ridge?" Lily asked, and Samuel heard the fear in her voice. "I want them to have choices," he replied. "The choice to stay if they love this life, or the choice to see the world if that's what calls to them. This inheritance gives them that freedom." In the end, they decided to accept the inheritance on Hope's behalf, but to raise her without knowledge of the circumstances surrounding her father or his final gesture. The money would be managed carefully, used for the children's education and kept as security for their futures. Years passed peacefully at Thunder Ridge Ranch. Hope grew into a bright, spirited young woman with her mother's intelligence and her adoptive father's steady character. She excelled at her studies under the tutelage of various teachers Samuel imported from back east. But she also learned to rope cattle and ride like the wind across the open range. James grew into a thoughtful boy who shared his father's love of the land and his mother's love of books. He could discuss philosophy with equal passion as cattle breeding, and he showed signs of becoming both a scholar and a rancher. The ranch prospered under Samuel's continued stewardship, aided by Lily's keen business sense and natural understanding of the land. They expanded their holdings gradually, always with an eye toward sustainability and stewardship rather than mere profit. On a warm evening in late summer, when Hope was 17 and James was 15, the family gathered on their porch as they had countless times before. Hope was reading aloud from a book of poetry while James whittled a small horse for the neighbor's youngest child. Lily sat mending clothes, her hair now touched with silver but her beauty undiminished by time. Samuel rocked gently in his chair, watching his family with the deep contentment that had become the foundation of his existence. "Papa," Hope said suddenly, looking up from her book, "I've been thinking about what I want to do after I finish my studies." "And what's that, darling?" Samuel asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "I want to stay here," she said firmly. "I want to help you and Mama run the ranch. I know I could go to college back east, could see the world. But this is where I belong." Samuel felt tears prick his eyes, not of sadness but of profound pride. His daughter had grown up with every opportunity money could provide, but she had chosen the life he and Lily had built together at Thunder Ridge. "Are you sure?" Lily asked gently. "There's a whole world out there, Hope. You could do anything. Be anything." "I could," Hope agreed. "But I want to be here with you, carrying on what we've built together. This ranch, this family, it's worth more than anything else I could find out there." James looked up from his whittling. "I feel the same way," he said quietly. "Oh, I'd like to study at the agricultural college, learn new methods and techniques, but I want to bring that knowledge back here." Samuel reached for Lily's hand, squeezing it gently as he looked at their children, one born to them, one chosen, both loved beyond measure. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "when I first bought this ranch, I thought I was just looking for a place to hide from the world. After your mother died, Mary, I thought my life was essentially over at 35. I was just going through the motions, waiting for time to pass." He looked at Lily, his eyes soft with love and gratitude. "Then your mother came into my life, and you, Hope, and later you, James. You didn't just save my life, you showed me what life was really supposed to be about. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just existing, but creating something meaningful that lasts beyond our own years." Hope closed her book and moved to sit at her father's feet, as she had when she was small. James joined her, and Lily left her mending to stand behind Samuel's chair, her hands resting on his shoulders. "The miracle wasn't just finding you," Samuel continued, his voice thick with emotion. "The miracle was learning that love doesn't run out, that there's always room in the heart for more love, more hope, more joy than you ever thought possible." As the sun set over Thunder Ridge Ranch, painting the sky in brilliant colors that seemed to celebrate the love that had grown and flourished in this place, the Morrison family sat together in the comfortable silence of people who knew they were exactly where they belonged. In the distance, cattle grazed peacefully in green pastures. The wind carried the scent of wildflowers and the promise of tomorrow. And in the gathering twilight, 4 hearts beat in rhythm with the eternal pulse of the land they loved, the family they had chosen, and the miracles that had brought them all together. Samuel Morrison had bought a desperate young woman at a trading post 20 years ago, thinking he was purchasing companionship for his lonely years. Instead, he had found love, purpose, and a legacy that would endure long after the last star faded from the vast western sky. The miracle he had waited for had come not in the form he expected, but in the form he needed, a family built not just on blood, but on choice, commitment, and the enduring power of love to transform even the most broken circumstances into something beautiful and lasting. Thunder Ridge Ranch stood as a testament to that transformation, its buildings solid and weathered, its fields green and productive, its heart filled with the laughter of children who would carry forward the values and dreams of those who had loved them into existence. And on quiet evenings when the wind was just right, some folks swore they could hear the echo of prayers answered, of miracles acknowledged, and of love that had grown from the most unlikely beginnings into something as enduring as the land itself.